Hi there, this is Built in the Digital Republic, a podcast about Estonia, its tech talent, and the country's place on the global digital map. I am Antonuk. Today, we're talking about a turning point every successful tech company hits, when the local market isn't enough and it's time to go global. Of course, if it were only about landing the first deals, this episode would be very short. But our guest today knows international expansion not from slide decks, and he is great at bringing founders back to reality when they treat going global like a checkbox. And of course, he is here to help with strategic and operational insight as well as practical advice. Please welcome Sven Aulik, member of the management board at the Estonian Association of IT and Telecommunications and director of international partnerships at FleetGuru. Sven brings more than 30 years of hands-on experience building international offices and leading sales operations in the automotive, logistics, and IT sectors across 30 countries. He is also the co-author and editor of the Export Handbook for Estonian Companies, Yes to Export. Today's topic: strategies for scaling Estonian businesses. Let's get started. Hi Sven, really great to have you with us today.
Hello Alex, nice to meet you too.
Sven, you've been at the intersection of business, exports, and technology for years, and you've seen a lot. Do you remember the moment when it hit you that Estonian isn't just a startup incubator for the world, but a real exporter of digital solutions on its own right? Or am I romanticizing it a bit?
No, you are not actually. If I think back a little bit of what has happened in my export career, which you mentioned has been more than 30 years already now, I remember two very clear moments. That the first one was when I joined a company who was dealing with the logistics IT platform, and our owners were actually from the Skype. When I saw that as everybody knows, the Skype was sold to Microsoft. Actually, it was sold to eBay as well. Very good business people. And then when we started to build this platform, we very quickly realized that we have to go abroad. And after realizing that our solution is scalable into already more than 10 countries, then I realized that the Estonian startup space has a limitations in a way that, yes, it's a great place to start developing things, the community is great to support it, but it's the products, when it's enough, if it's a good product and when you have a little bit of finances available, you can go very far, and we ended up with being in more than 25 countries in the end. And the second moment was the time when I was working in Enterprise Estonia, which is the export promotion agency in Estonia. And when we started helping Estonian companies to go abroad to other countries, then in one point, I think it was during one trip to US, and I had to do a presentation to some potential investors. Then it came to my mind a kind of a nice story, which I don't know exactly where it came from, but it was about the thing that Estonia is known by its unicorns. But not everybody will become a unicorn. And then I came up with the example that if you talk about Estonia, it's not just about unicorns. Actually, this unicorn has a unique carriage behind him. And this carriage is actually full of very nice stuff, if I can say so, which means that there are lots of other smaller companies with different IT solutions, and not only IT solutions, there is lots of other technologies and ending up with food and wood and everything else. So it's not just about the unicorns, but it's the carriage, which is 90% of the companies who want to go exporting. But the unicorn story and Skype story still is valid and helps to open the doors.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing your story. But let's be honest, Estonia is still a pretty challenging market. It's small, the talent pool is tighter than many would like, and startups often have to expand abroad sooner than they are ready. In addition, Estonia isn't well known everywhere. In the West, its reputation is mostly positive, but in more distant regions, it can be different or simply non-existent. So, how should startups and more mature companies approach international scaling, not just exporting, but building a long-term presence abroad? And what common mistakes do you see companies make along the way?
Yes, as we already mentioned, Estonia is not a market. Estonia is the piloting ground. With our 1.3 million people here, it's definitely not the market. But that means that whenever you, especially in the IT world and technology world, you have to start the company with the export in mind, in a way that it can be expanded, it can be scaled, and unless you are not a local bakery or a newspaper stand, it should be in your back of your head immediately from the day one. Then, as mentioned, Estonia, actually, that is true that Estonia is a great test bed, and we just recently again renewed and took the new legislation, which means that there is an officially described regulatory sandbox for companies who would like to test different things in real life conditions. So Estonia provides a lot of support by the government already for that. So you are not doing anything illegal when you drive your autonomous vehicles on the streets or stuff like that. And maybe one more thing, when you start your company going abroad, I think the best strategy would be to find some local partners in countries you have decided to go to, either in a form of representatives or distributors or resellers, so they can help you to blend in. They know the local business culture. The investment doesn't have to be so big, because very many companies who will get their first investment hurry up maybe sometimes and open their big, nice, fancy office and hire 10 people in day one. And sometimes it is just burning the investors' money. But the good thing is with this distributors thing that when you see that the cooperation works very well, it is possible to either make a joint venture, or if that suits both parties, you can actually later buy it. And we have done it in a few markets actually, in one company when we started entering the market via them, and later on we actually bought them in the end. And of course, try to go in B2B business model first, because B2C is the most expensive thing you can do as a first thing to do.
So that sounds constructive. And now let's get even more specific. A small startup, say a B2B SaaS company in a related field, decides it's time to go beyond Estonia and choose its first market. What should they look at first? Regulation, market readiness, or the ability to replicate the model across neighboring countries? And if possible, share a couple of examples, because what's critical for one niche may be secondary in another.
Yes. Now, of course, it depends a little bit of your product or service which you are providing, but definitely that applies every case, that the homework must be done, meaning that you should be able to know, as you mentioned, the regulations first. Is there any kind of hurdles or things which will not allow you to provide the service the way you thought it will? So the legislation and the regulations are important, definitely. And then, of course, do the legwork in a market research while that how well this product could suit you, and is there a pain in this market, or is there are you the first one to offer this market? That is a possibility, but that's also kind of, you have to be the pioneer, and that's costly. And at the same time, if there is some kind of competition on this field, maybe you can find some unique approach to the same problem, the way that will help you to enter the market and have the most interesting offer there. That's definitely one thing to do. That is also, you asked about the replication of the business model. I haven't seen any markets, basically, if you go in, that you don't need to do any adaptations, that you have to be ready for that every market has their established business culture and way to sell this type of product. You have to know them. Sometimes you have to add them to your offer if you don't have it already. And then you will blend in a way that you cover their basic needs. And then if you can come up with something extra, that will be, of course, key to your success then.
Okay, that's clear. Have you ever had a situation when market entry strategy only seemed to fail, but in the end led to unexpected positive outcomes?
Yeah, I remember the case where we were going to the Eastern European countries, and I was looking for the partner in Hungary. And we met the company with a Hungarian company who, according to our homework, was supposed to be suitable enough. But what appeared was that the decision maker in the company was very poor English speaker. And of course, I don't speak Hungarian, although Estonian should be related to Hungarian. Anyways, we started to have a discussion via the translator. Luckily, there was a guy in the company who spoke good English. But he was not the decision maker. He was just middle range manager. But he was able to translate our ideas. And as this company was not working in Budapest, he was working in the very east at the Romanian border of Hungary, I thought that, okay, the decision maker can't speak good English. We can't express clearly our ideas, and he can't express his needs. And the company is not located in Budapest, where the biggest customers are. So I thought, okay, we will not pursue it very actively. But they kept asking questions. I don't know, did they use the Google Translate or any other way? And when they said that, Sven, we have opened the side office in Budapest as well, because we understand that from Nyíregyháza, but was the city in the east, we can't be very successful, and we stay as a local player. So that moment I realized that these guys might be worth it probably in 2 years, they become our second biggest distributor in whole our network of distribution. So you have to be persistent and not to, how to say, delete them from your table when you're looking for the partners. I can give you also one example when everything sounds and even seemed perfect, but in the end it failed, because I think that actually these are the failures from which you learn the most. So that was in Bahrain. We found a good partner who helped to enter the market. That was one big Swiss company who is dealing worldwide, and they had a local Bahraini office. And as in Middle East countries, you have to know the decision makers, and that what I mean in these countries, you have to know the royals, because the royal blood is put into all the biggest businesses, and we had to deal with the customs of the country. So I did the 3 visits to Bahrain. We had personal meetings with the nephew of the sultan or the sheikh of the country. We did a couple of very good presentations. We had a long row of local guys in white costumes around it, and everybody was nodding and was applauding after the presentations. But what happened was that in the end, when we were about to sign the contract, somehow the signature didn't appear on the contract. And what we realized was that on the side they had shown our presentation to some German guys who knew them probably better. And in the end, the German guys got the contract, and actually they copied a couple of our ideas from our presentation. So it might happen also like this, but that's business.
Wow, these are very interesting and useful cases, actually, both opposite cases, opposite scenarios that you may face with, but still very useful to understand how things may come up. So, Sven, I know you've scaled fleet management solutions across different regions and also have expertise in B2G. How often did you need to make significant changes to the product itself to meet local requirements, rather than simply adapting the messaging or localization?
Of course, you mentioned the localization is the keyword first, and you would be very happy if you just managed to translate your application or whatever you're offering, the user manual. But in many, many cases, yes, you have to go deeper than just localization, and you have to adapt the service because the different legislation base, for example, or market traditions, that applies specifically when we work in the EU space, then it's more or less the same. But even here, we have the unexpected things. For example, in Germany, when we entered the Germany of our solution, that suddenly appeared that due to the GDPR requirements, which there is very, very tight in Germany. They asked us that while we were providing this logistic solution with GPS tracking included, they asked us that this tracker should disappear from the map between 6 afternoon and 8 in the morning, meaning the night time when the official working time is over, because that's against the GDPR. And we have never seen such a requirement anywhere else, even in other European Union countries. So that was a very specific thing, and we had to do it. Otherwise, they said that, sorry, no go in Germany, because that's the GDPR requirement. Maybe another example, Poland. With the same solution, when we entered Poland, we realized that there is a very tough competition on telematics market, and there were more than 100 companies on this field. And there were a lot of companies who offered, as we call it, a man and a dog in a garage type of companies who sold absolutely the cheapest possible price on the market. And the locals were used to that price dumping, and in order to enter the market and to get to the first meeting, we actually had to create a kind of a entry-level solution, which was the simplification of our everything all-in type of solution, which was, of course, more expensive. We had to do the very, very dumbed-down solution in order to say that, yes, we have a product for €2 as well. But when we presented that, then the question started to come, can you do this? And then we could put out on the table the full solution. Of course, the price was 10 times higher. So you have to be ready for this type of things.
Okay, that's really interesting. So sometimes you even need to simplify as much as you can of your proposition,
yeah,
of your
absolutely.
solution.
Just to get to the first meeting, because the meeting is everything. Because yes, nowadays you can have a lot of very good online meetings, but the real success comes when you actually are able to visit them, sit in their office, look into the face of the guy, shake hands in the end, and if possible, have a beer later.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Okay, let's shift the angle and talk about what's often called export diplomacy. What do trade shows and international missions help Estonian companies enter global markets, like those, for example, supported by Enterprise Estonia or ITL? And how can businesses get more out of these events? Not just a photo at their booth.
Yeah, I would actually add one big player on this list of Enterprise Estonia and ITC Association is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, meaning our embassies as well to this list, because nowadays Enterprise Estonia, ITL and the MFA have created something which is called the Team Estonia, and they all work hand in hand, and sometimes the responsibility is one side and sometimes the responsibility is on the other side. So these are all governmental institutions which help companies to enter the markets and do some preparatory homework in the beginning. And they have lots of interesting tools and opportunities to offer to the companies, because you can always go on your own if you have been able to find the possible partners. But sometimes your calls are not requested, or your emails have not even looked at. And in order to open the doors, very often you need the help of these organizations. And what I could recommend is that, first of all, go to the trade shows in this country. That can be, of course, done without the local help, but very often, for example, Enterprise Estonia, local business advisors or export advisors can join you in order to help you out and pick and tell some background of these companies, what he sees, because these guys are not Estonians who are there for the 3 years mission, but they are local people, either local nationals or Estonians who have been living there for 10 or 20 years, and they are almost locals, but the benefit is that they know Estonia very well as well. And then, of course, there is a site in Estonia called visited.ee, where is the full list of all the business missions, trade shows, official VIP visits. Presidential visits are not there because they keep it a little bit under the sordine before it actually starts, and that's a little bit different. But there is a big list of these type of business missions which Estonians do in different sectors. And by joining these are the real door openers from two sides, actually. The one side is that when there is some kind of a VIP, for example, or the ambassador in the company, because they gladly join these visits. If they ask for the meeting or discussion to be opened, then nobody usually says no. To the ambassadors, to the ministers, to ministries, usually people reply, even if they are not the public sector organizations, but also, for example, for the big companies, they always honor that and they let you in. And then with this delegation, you can go in and present your pitch then later on. The second thing is that when you are part of this type of delegation, then you kind of have a quality sign stamped to your forehead, so to say, that if you say that I'm coming to your country with the Minister of Estonia of the digitalization, for example, then that means that you must be a real player and you are serious, that not every luck, fortune seekers in the company and you are seriously taken partner and they at least will have the first meeting. Then, of course, it's up to you if you can provide them something which they are really interested in. But that you very, very much helps you to open the doors. And later on, maybe they can also do for you some backup things. And as you know, after the visit, the real work starts. And then using their help and their support, if they don't answer after your visit, they can be the ones who push it a little bit and say that, remember we met, Estonia waits for the answer. So don't be shy to use this type of assistance if you are not able to open the required doors on your own.
Super useful. Yeah, thanks. I've even made some notes for myself of this. Okay, and to wrap up the main part, let's talk about cultural perception and image. What stereotypes about Estonian products and companies, or what real traits they have, tend to hold them back when entering new markets? And on the flip side, which ones actually work in their favor?
It's a known joke that Estonians are not the good salespeople because they are too shy. But I can even say that actually there are people who live more north than us and they are even shyer. As you know, you understand whom I'm talking about. But at the same time, yes, sometimes we are not the Estonian way of doing business is not the American way. Then when they put their fist on a table and or to your chest and say that I'm the best in the world and my product supersedes everybody else. Estonians never say that. But in very many cultures, that's even better. And what is actually working in our favor is that the Estonians are quite persistent. We are accurate, dedicate quite a lot of time to detail, sometimes even too much, because, there is always the fight between the development part of the company and the sales team. That sales team want to get the contract first, but the development is, no, we are not ready, it's not perfect. So you have to find the balance in here, but we have a good reputation. And I think thanks to this, as I spoke about the company Skype, and from there on, Estonia still has a good IT reputation in the world that helps us and works for our benefit. And then you simply have to prove it that you really keep your word. And in very many countries, the signed contract is needed, but at the same time, also the handshake and your word is also ruling. So keep your performances, and I think Estonians are known for that if we say something, that it actually holds water as well.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you don't need to try to be too perfect. Yeah.
As you know, fake it till you make it is one of the ways to go in. And also, yes, very, very often that's what people do, that when you have at least, not that prototype, but the working solution, which is absolutely, it can't be perfect in the first place at all. And as we earlier said, that it needs some adaptations in the new markets. But after the first, requirement, which is not your standard product, would be better, of course, when you talk to your development manager or CEO, if you need some more investment into that product to be ready, then definitely don't hold it back too much until it's perfect. It will never be perfect, as you know. It's constant development.
Yeah, sure. We are getting close to the end. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick lightning round. 3 short questions, and I'll ask you to answer as concisely and directly as you can. Does it work for you?
Yeah.
So let's do that in this case. Estonia's digital and legal ecosystem is often cited as a competitive advantage for businesses here. But which elements of it actually help companies enter new markets? 2 or 3, and why those?
I think the big important thing for Estonian digital world is the eID. Very many solutions are built on this, that you can identify yourself via the online channels. So that's the big benefit, and it doesn't include banks. It's our unique ideas, as you know. That's one thing, and I think what really helps Estonian and foreign companies to do business in between each other is the e-residency opportunity, which is the system where you can easily start up a company here as an e-resident and start using Estonian digital ecosystem as a personal board member, for example, of the company. And that helps to run the business in here where the ecosystem is very good, and then either scale it out or start just exporting from Estonia. I think that's what the Estonian background can give you.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. What most often helps Estonian companies stay competitive after their first success abroad? 1 or 2 key factors that, in your view, are undeniable.
I think the constant development is the word. As I said, no solution can be perfect at all, at least at the beginning. It will never be, and the world changes. So constant development, you have to be ready to develop it further and bring in something new to your thing in order to stay competitive. And then what I will also say is that the personal contacts with the partners are very important, that it's not just about sending emails, it's personal visits, it is going to their countries and sometimes even to their homes and summer cottages. And when you have taken a sauna with your partner or helped to build a fireplace in his summer cottage, after that, you know that you will hear the first if something is wrong. At the same time, also, you will get the first orders in when the need becomes.
Okay. And probably the last question from this list. Which countries should Estonian startups planning to expand, pay special attention to in the coming years, and why?
Oh, that's always the most difficult question. The natural thing is that, yes, we start from the neighboring countries, and if you, in case of you are Estonian company or a European company, then you work with European countries. But let's put it this way. Maybe the biggest star at the moment in Europe is Germany because of the absolutely big investments prepared by the government and by the companies in there. And as the German economy is a little bit low at the moment, they're looking for the new growth, and the new digital solutions can definitely, and technology can help to raise that up. So Germany definitely. If we go a little bit outside, UK is definitely an opportunity, as they are not in the EU, but at the same time they have a lot of very old, even colonial systems there, which need to be replaced, starting from their healthcare system, for example. And then outside of Europe, I would say Balkan countries. They are eager, young, and they need new technologies in, and they are ready for that, although the price is lower there than in Europe, but at the same time you can get a bigger market share. And then, of course, let's not forget the Middle East. Saudi, with its upcoming Expo 2030 in there, they are pouring in enormous amounts of financial means into different projects. Digitalization is on top of their agenda. There are lots of Estonian companies already ready there, and what I have heard is that the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also planning to open some governmental institutions there, maybe even the embassy soon. So, and of course, all the neighboring UAE, Qatar, Oman. So all these countries are eager and hungry to find interesting products from Estonia.
Okay, fair enough. Sven, thanks for your examples, honest insights, and for highlighting the operational side of export that rarely shows up in public stories. This was really interesting.
You're welcome. Happy to share my experience, and I'm always there to help you as a member of the ITC Association Board. That's my duty.
Thanks a lot for this. Friends, this was the podcast Built in the Digital Republic. If you enjoy what we are doing, subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, and SoundCloud. If the platform you're listening on allows comments, let us know. Is your company considering expanding from Estonia into international markets? And which markets seems like the most logical first step? I am Antonuk. See you in the next episodes.